This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Elmec and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger.
Last week on Test Drive, we were taking a look at Ford's latest electric vehicle. This week, we're taking a look at Lincoln's newest hybrid solution. This is the Lincoln Aviator. So today we're gonna take you all around the car. We're gonna show you the exterior, the interior, and then we're gonna take it on a test drive, of course. And we'll tell you everything you need to know if you're in the market for one of these cars. So let's take you through the numbers. This trim that I'm driving has a turbocharged 3-liter V6 that makes 494 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque from a 10-speed automatic. And it is a heavy car, but you'll see in the driving, it's quite fast. A 24-volt charger, it's gonna take you about 3.5 hours to get to full. And on a just normal wall plug, it's gonna take around 12 hours to more, depending on how low the